Hey everyone, James here from Risen Bakery Co. Today we're going to answer the question that many of you have been asking, which is, James, what is enriched flour? We see your Loaf for Lie episodes. We see that anytime that any flour has that, you take that loaf and you say, throw it in the trash. It's not real flour. Why do you say this? So today I'm just going to do a little bit of education and break down why we do not recommend any flour that has enriched flour in it, any breads, if you will, that have that flour in it. And so let's just start off with just the history of what happened. I'm going to start here with this. Now, obviously, most people in America do not know this, okay? So I'm just going to start with the very basics. All flour comes from grains that are called wheat berries, okay? There's a lot of different variations of them. As time goes on, we'll make more videos about each one and kind of like what we like to use it for and what we recommend to use different wheat berries for. This is just a simple, hard, white wheat berry, okay? And of course, it's organic. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that these wonderful little berries here are what all flour comes from. And for, I'm going to use the term thousands of years because the history of flour is pretty straightforward. We'll talk about our experience with flour at some point, but the history of flour is simple. As far back as any drawing or any culture is concerned, there is wheat in those cultures, okay? And all of it is them growing their grains and then milling their grains and then eating them freshly milled, okay? Pretty much every time. They might have, the reason that they didn't operate in a world without freshly milled is because grains never go bad. You can literally pull a grain out of Egyptian tombs and eat it today. So as long as you don't crack the actual little berry here, they're really small, But as long as you don't crack a berry, guess what? You can keep these things around for thousands of years. It never goes bad. It's awesome. So this is the best way to transport something that's so good for you. There's just so much packed into wheat grain. Now, the issue is that in the late 1800s, I'm going to go with 1850s-ish, a guy invented a machine, okay? And it's because of the eyes. We all wanted to have bread that wasn't slightly colored like this. As you can tell, that this is not white flour, okay? You might be looking over here going, that looks like white flour. That's because that's what we turned it into. But this is what flour looked like the whole time. Whenever you ground it down, you always had the whole grains. But people wanted a prettier loaf of bread. And so only the rich people got white bread. Why? Because they actually had servants in the kitchen that were dedicated to milling down the wheat and then sifting out all of the bran and the germ, so you ended up with as much white as you could. But it never worked all the way, okay? It was always like a percentage, and the more time it took to make that happen, it took a lot of time to make white bread. But people really wanted white bread because it said that you were classier and better. But unfortunately, the deceit of the eyes removed all of the good things from bread. But this guy one day was thinking, I'm an inventor, I'm going to make this great machine. So around the industrial age, if you will, late 1800s, early 1900s, we fine-tuned this incredible machine that turned this into these three pieces. Because for every grain, there are three parts to it. There is the bran, okay? There is the germ, and there is what's called the endosperm. All right, and what happened is in the late or early 1900s, whenever this machine was created, it did a really good job at separating the three parts of the wheat berry. Okay, the problem is where they drew the lines on these things did not go good for humanity. Why? Well, we wanted beautiful white flour, so they separated this over, and then they took these two products, and guess what they did with them? Well, the farmers took them and sold them to other farmers who needed feed for their cattle. Why? Well, because the bran and the endosperm is actually where all of the nutrients is in, vitamins, magnesium, all the good things. So what is left here in the white bread? Say, James, well, what's in that white bread? Well, the white bread has starch and protein, and that is all. There's nothing else in there. And so, again, I mean, early 1900s American history, if you're not so well aware, there's lots of world wars going on. So as we were making a lot of bread, trying to get people fed, no one really thought about what was happening. Well, there was a problem. And that problem was that people started to get sick with really bad deficiencies. Beriberi is one, lack of a vitamin B1, a few others, and then also anemia because people were low on iron. And the answer is like, well, why are they low on all these things? Well, because these two had those things in them. This has natural iron. This has natural vitamins. Matter of fact, there's over 18 natural vitamins and minerals whenever you keep your wheat berry whole and you crack it and immediately make it. You don't separate it like this. You get a lot of really good stuff in here, and oils and enzymes and living elements, very much like how an avocado is. It's all in existence right here in this wheat berry. Now, to carry on with the story, all right, so now these two pieces have been removed, and now we're left with just this for making all of our bread. And as you can imagine, people were thrilled, right? We've been this machine, and in a matter of moments, and again, my heart goes out to all these people who did this because they were just trying to make something that was awesome, aka bread in their life, more convenient. And I mean, just imagine for just a minute, right? I got a house full of wonderful women. Just imagine all day you had to like crank every single time you wanted flour. You had to hand crank down these grains into a flour, and then you could finally make it work. It is exhausting, okay? And so when they invented a machine that separated everything else to give you beautiful white bread that you could serve your family, right, and your guest, then guess what? We all bought it because everyone wanted to. The problem is that this doesn't have anything good in it as far as nutrition, and people were used to getting their nutrients from their bread, and they were no longer doing that, okay? Now, in about the 1930s and 40s, the deficiencies became really obvious to Americans, so much so that the government got involved, and by 1941, the government passed a law and said you cannot keep bread completely stripped of all nutrients. You must put back in a minimum of 4 nutrients, and that was vitamin B1, 2, and 3, and iron. Okay, and so that's what they put back in. And you might say, well, hey, that's great. Why did they do that? Well, because that was the deficiencies. Every bread was vitamin B1, and then the other 2, and then of course anemia is iron. And so I'm not trying to bore you with all the details here, but I wanted to like explain where we even got enriched flour. So now the government has required you infuse this white flour with synthetic vitamins and iron. And guess what? That is where enriched flour came from. That is what enriched flour is today. The problem is that they didn't use a natural vitamin to put back into our flour. They put synthetic, right? And so if you watch one of our videos like on thiamine mononitrate, you'll learn that that vitamin B1 is a synthetic. It's not a natural vitamin B1. And the problem there is that vitamin is meant to convert carbs to energy. And when you use a synthetic, guess what? You don't do it as well. You become sluggish. How many of us have eaten great bread and felt terrible afterward and felt sluggish because it wasn't the natural form of the vitamin, it was synthetic. And so again, did we end the deficiencies in America? We did. You're thinking, well, why the heck did the government let us only put back in synthetic fake vitamins? Well, as we all know, the government is ran by people, and then some of them have other interests. I'm not going to go into all the political stuff here. I'm just going to say they did was probably cheapest, and you got to realize there are big industries around these different conversations, right? The reason that they didn't put the germ and the brand back into the endosperm and just keep whole grains everywhere is quite literally the farmers said, no, you can't do that to us. We just took wheat berries. And instead of having one industry, we now have 2 industries buying from us. We're not going back. It ain't happening. And so they allowed for there to be synthetic. Now, what's the problem with synthetic? The problem with synthetic is that, particularly anemia, the iron that they allowed back in, it's not a full iron, right? And so it's a partial iron. So that's why people continue to have problems with anemia and also just general gut health problems, right? Because the bran in the germ is where you get a lot of your fiber and other elements that help you break down the not good things like the protein, aka gluten, in your bread. Okay, fast forward now to 1990s, they added a 5th synthetic one, okay? And this was a little scary. This is vitamin B9, okay? And the reason it was required by the government to put back in is because of birth deficiencies, okay? Now, I'm not going to stand up here on the stage and say that this bad, enriched flour is causing all problems with birth. But I am going to say that whenever you keep everything together, the amount of oils and vitamins that you get that are natural for your body and are good for you, let's just say they are good for humanity, right? I mean, if you've ever studied bread across time and history, I mean, most religions have something to do with bread. If you're a Christian, like the whole Bible's riddled all things bread. And so you're thinking, why is bread today so hurtful? Well, it's because it's only 1/3 of what bread was meant to be, okay? Not only that, but whenever you take all 3 of these and you separate it like this and you sell them in different pieces, guess what? You don't have the natural oils and enzymes that activate whenever you break open a grain, okay? And you get all those oils, they leave. In less than 15 days, they're gone. Matter of fact, the maximum you should wait between milling something and eating something is no more than 48 hours. That's all you have when you break these things up. Now, is it great to have whole grain? Sure. But whenever you have whole grain, just realize you have this. You have a factory somewhere getting the bran, the germ, and the endosperm, and their idea of a whole grain bread is just mixing these back together instead of just taking the original grain, putting it up, milling it, and immediately making the bread. This is why we are huge fans, and this is really our staple, if you will, is we want you to eat freshly milled grained bread. It is good for you. It has so many vitamins and minerals. It's the way that it was meant to be. We accidentally got to this place where we just started keeping this together and we separated everything and we mixed it all up. So our call to all of you is to say, so what is enriched flour? Well, it's 1/3 of what flour should be infused with vitamins that are synthetic and salted and made in a lab in the late 30s and 40s. And we're thinking, do we need this? It's like, well, no. Matter of fact, we should get rid of all of this and we should embrace freshly milled grains because this is the way that making bread was always meant to be. And I'm really happy y'all decided to watch this video with me. If you got questions or concerns or want any more information, comment below. Guys, I'm not anything other than just a baker and a passionate person who wants people to eat real bread. And so if you've got more to add to this conversation, please comment below. I'd love to talk with you about it. If something in this video you think I'm off on, please comment below. My goal is just to bring you the stories of the past and kind of let you know what's going on today. And if you have questions like how do we get a hold of freshly milled grains, all I can say is wherever you live, find someone local, because more than likely that's the only way you're going to be able to get a hold of it. Trying to ship freshly milled grain bread is unbelievably difficult, which is why it's more of a movement that has to happen more than just some company deciding to wake up one day and doing it. Okay? All right. Thank you for tuning in. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Many blessings.